Welcome to our commercial-free coverage for classrooms around the world, including those at Madison campus in Tennessee. Hope you enjoyed your trip here. I'm Carl Azus. First up this Wednesday, Nepal is reeling. Last Saturday's earthquake was its worst natural disaster in more than 80 years. Nepal is a poor country. It's just a little larger than the state of Arkansas, and 1/4 of its population was affected by the quake. Officials now say at least 4,600 people were killed, 9,000 were injured, 1 million children are in need of help. The Nepalese army says at least 90% of its 96,000 troops are deployed in relief and rescue operations. They're getting help from around the world. One aid organization says the hardest part is simply reaching the villages near the quake's epicenter.
62-year-old Miley Tamang sits quietly, away from the rest of her family. It's as close as she can be to what was her home.
Miley Tamang ran out onto the balcony when suddenly this part of the building collapsed, trapping her. She did manage to claw herself free and then crawl out through there, someone helping her up the embankment. The entire roof of this part of the home collapsed, trapping her daughter-in-law, who was freed as well. And right now, this is all that remains of the home that she and her husband worked their entire lives to build.
Other families who lost everything cook lunch by the side of the road, unsure how they will rebuild or even where to start. An old man sifts through the rubble, looking for anything to salvage. We're just 30 kilometers or about 20 miles from the capital, but it takes an hour and a half by car, a luxury most who live in this rugged terrain don't have. But at least it's accessible. There are parts of Nepal so remote it takes days to reach under normal circumstances. Villages one can only get to on foot. It's those areas that were hardest hit, where aid has yet to arrive, where no one really knows the full extent of human loss.
Some teachers emailed us about Maggie Doyne, a CNN hero and character study from our April 16th show. Doyne opened a home and school for kids in western Nepal. We're told they are all fine. School's out there and Doyne's in the U.S., but there's no significant damage to her home and school in Nepal. They're encouraging donations to groups helping in other parts of Nepal. A state of emergency in the eastern U.S. city of Baltimore, Maryland. The city's police department said as of yesterday afternoon, at least 235 people had been arrested, at least 20 officers had been injured. Riots started there Monday, the same day as the funeral for a 25-year-old African-American man named Freddie Gray. He died under mysterious circumstances following his arrest in mid-April. Many protesters blame police. The first demonstrations were mostly peaceful, but earlier this week, rioters burned cars and buildings. A senior center under construction at a church burned down, and schools were closed because officials didn't think it was safe for children to be outside. The state of emergency declared by Maryland's governor on Monday night sped up the deployment of National Guard troops to Baltimore. The mayor imposed a mandatory curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. For the first time in baseball history, a professional game will not be open to the public. Fans won't be allowed to see the Baltimore Orioles play the Chicago White Sox on Wednesday. Monday's and Tuesday's Orioles games were postponed. The pastor who gave the eulogy at Freddie Gray's funeral was one of dozens of religious leaders who came out and urged peace among the protesters. A number of residents joined them in trying to discourage violence and clean up the damaged parts of their city.
I am a resident of this area, and I think we owe it to ourselves to do better and to be more, and so I said I'm going to get out here and I'm going to lead by example.
I felt disappointed because a lot of that could have been avoided if people would have started thinking before they would have done all that stuff.
Well, according to the Supreme Court, when a police officer has a reasonable, articulable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot, he may not necessarily arrest, but stop a person and investigate. The courts have said nervous behavior, evasive behavior can satisfy that reasonable suspicion needed. When it comes to running away from the police, The Supreme Court has made clear that unprovoked flight may be enough to support that articulable suspicion so that police can make an initial stop. It's even more clear that unprovoked flight plus just the presence in a high crime area can satisfy that burden. And because every police encounter is a series of stepping stones, once police have that suspicion to stop you, they can expand their investigation and even conduct a limited pat-down of your body if they have some reasonable fear for their safety. This brief investigative detention is called a Terry stop by the courts. A Terry stop is not an actual arrest. It's supposed to be a brief detention to investigate and conduct a search for weapons. If that pat-down produces a gun and some drugs, you can be arrested even though all you did in the beginning was run away. In theory, if they don't find anything wrong, police are supposed to release you after briefly questioning you. The reality is that a Terry stop is routinely used as a springboard into a more thorough investigation.
Pretty sure this is the first time we've ever announced a school named after a governor. That governor's Thomas Johnson. He was the first governor of Maryland, elected in 1777, and Governor Thomas Johnson High School, the Patriots, are watching in Frederick. Nearby New Jersey is next. We've got some Bears today watching at Manalapan Englishtown Middle School. It's in Manalapan. And to our friends at the Air Base in Aviano, Italy, welcome and thank you for watching from Aviano Middle High School. There's something each of us does every day that experts say raises our chances of getting heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. I'm doing it right now. You're probably doing it too. It's sitting. That's it, sitting. A report published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute blames watching TV and other things that involve being parked on a chair.
I have sat more than just about anybody else. In fact, I was calculating this the other day, just based on my travel alone. I have traveled enough to have circumnavigated the Earth 100 times. And I know that sitting can be really bad for you. We humans did not evolve to be sitting creatures. We evolved to be naturally moving all day long. In fact, some people have called sitting the new smoking. One of the big concerns is something known as DVT. Deep venous thrombosis. Think of these clots that are forming in the deep veins of your legs. The blood's just not moving very well there, so the clots start to form. That can be painful to your leg. Your best bet, if you're forced to sit, is to try and get the blood moving. Simply doing some exercise with your legs, spinning your feet around to actually get the blood flowing. Make sure to drink plenty of water, and if you can, get up and walk around. That's your best bet to live to 100.
Some animals just standing still are hilarious. Take wiener dogs.
Your mark, get set, go!
But these are anything but still. At the annual races in Buda, Texas, wiener dogs race full tilt with their back legs far behind their front ones. Some of them went for the win, some of them went straight for their owners. All of them seem to have fun because let's face it, even if none came in first, they'd still be wieners. Of course, you'd expect some to stretch out for the win, with dog-termined hot dogs doggedly hounding them to finish all four legs of that race. I'm Carl Azus for CNN Student News.